Hi y'all, this is Larry from Deep South Texas, and today we're going to make some fermented hot sauce, and you can do it too. So I had a lot of excess peppers this year. I went out and picked everything that was ready. Had a bowl about this size full of peppers. I then took those peppers, I chopped the stem off, cut them in half, and threw them in a food processor. And I ran the food processor to grind them into pieces that were about 1/4 inch square to 1/8 inch square. And I ended up with this half-gallon mason jar full of chopped up peppers. Now, I like hot peppers in my hot sauce, of course, but mainly this year I had these Sugar Rush peach peppers. So this is about 75% Sugar Rush peach, which are moderately hot, and when they're ripe, which these aren't quite, they're a little bit more orange in color. Not much though, not much. And so this is about 75% those, and then every other red pepper that I had in the garden I threw into this. So some jalapenos, some Anaheims, some cayennes, anything I could get that was red, because I like the color red in my hot sauce a little bit better. So I took all those chopped up peppers, put them in this half-gallon ball jar, and filled the rest with water. And then I poured the water, I weighed it to see how much it weighed. Then I poured the water out and added salt to the water. And the salt I added was 2.5% of the weight that I had just measured. So anywhere from 2% to 3% works, so 2.5% is what I used. I mixed that all up in the water and then poured the water back in the jar. So this has been fermenting now for 3 months. I got this ball pickle pike here that allows the CO2 to escape from the fermenting peppers. And then I have some pickle pebbles, which is just a glass weight that sits on top. So that glass weight holds the chopped up peppers below the surface of the liquid. And here's a clean one. Here's what they look like. So it fits a wide mouth jar. So this has been fermenting for 3 months, and there's a little bit of skin of white yeast growing on the top. So I'm going to remove that. It's not dangerous, it's not unhealthy or anything, but it can add a flavor to the sauce. So I'm just going to skim off the top of this and discard it. I think I've also got a couple big pieces of peppers in there to help hold everything down. So we'll remove all of that before we continue processing. So the next step of the process is to remove all the, or most of the liquid from this, from these peppers. So I've got a strainer here, but they're not coming out very good. I'm going to take this pepper mash, put it in the strainer, and then let the liquid drain out. I may use some of that liquid a little bit later in the process. So I do want to save it, at least for now. And you can see it's draining out slowly. So it's mostly drained. So the next step is to run it through this food mill to it'll take out all the seeds and grind it up very fine. So we'll start loading that in. This takes a while. But we'll put a bunch of that in and we'll spin this mill and try to extract the essence of these peppers. It's a little bit more difficult to do on camera than real life, but well, I pretty much have the good stuff squeezed out of this first batch. And now we're going to empty out this food mill, but we're not going to discard this stuff. This is great. I'm going to, I have a sheet pan here with some parchment paper on it. I'm going to dump it out. And then when we're all done, we're going to dry this out in the oven. And when that's dry, we'll grind it up in a coffee grinder, and it's just a wonderful spice. Salty and hot to put on anything. Eggs, casseroles, enchiladas. I mean, it's really great stuff. And we'll be saving all that. Actually, you know, we're looking for this juice to make our hot sauce out of. So we have run our peppers through the food mill, and we have about a pint of essence of peppers. I've tasted it. It's hot. It's hot. It's not as hot probably as what I'd like, but my peppers weren't all that hot. And then we have this pan full of spent mash that we're going to put in the oven and dry out, kind of dehydrate at about 250 degrees for as long as it takes to get dry. And then we'll put that in a coffee grinder and grind it into a fine dust for another spice. But let's continue on with our hot sauce. So now we brought out our blender. Mainly we're going to use this to mix, and we're going to put our hot sauce in there. And then we want to put in some white vinegar. This is just white distilled vinegar, just the common stuff. It helps give it a little bite and also helps preserve it. So we'll put a 1/4 cup of that in. We'll mix that up and then give it a taste. All right. Yeah, pretty good. I'm going to add in just a dash more vinegar. And a little of this liquid we saved when we drained the peppers. this liquid is pretty hot. It's also salty. So. Mix that up. Give it another taste. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's tasting pretty good. The next thing and the last thing we're going to do for the sauce is we're going to put in some xanthan gum. It's helps thicken it up, and it also acts as an emulsifier to keep the vinegar and water from separating from the pepper. So we're not putting in very much, about 1/4 teaspoon. And just want to put it in a little at a time so it doesn't clump up. Okay, now we're going to transfer our hot sauce back into this container to make it a little bit easier to pour into our bottles. And I think these are like 5-ounce bottles, 4 or 5-ounce bottles I got on Amazon a year ago, and I'm just going to reuse these. I have a little funnel here that fits in the bottle, and we'll fill these up. That looks good. Our first bottle of hot sauce for 2022. So we have 4 bottles of hot sauce. Looks good. And then some left over. We'll use this first to see how we like it. And the bottles come with these plastic caps that have a hole in it and lids. So we'll use these first. We'll let these set for a day or two because we had them in the blender. There might be some air whipped into these, and if there is, we'll refill them up with this one. But that's looking good. I have the skins and seeds in the oven drying out. So again, we'll let these set out for a couple days and retop them up if we need to. And once that's done, then I will store these in my refrigerator in the garage and pull them out as I need them. You know, I wouldn't really need to store them in there, but in case there's any additional fermentation still going on, if they're in the refrigerator, that will keep that at a very, very small pace. And if I just leave them out at room temperature at this point, then they might begin to ferment again and build up some pressure in the bottles, which, you know, if you wanted to do that, you could do that. Just need to burp the bottles, you know, once a week or two to get rid of the excess pressure. But I think they're done fermenting anyway, and I have a stash of these in my refrigerator in the garage as it is, so that's where they're going to go. Oh, let's give it a taste. Very good. It's got some heat to it, and it's salty. It'll make a great hot sauce. I do have 4 bottles of hot sauce. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it that big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.